2024 meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission. This meeting of the commission will be held in person at the main meeting room at Town Hall. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while we are providing an option for remote attendance and our participation, and it's being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technical problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda are encouraged to make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. Okay, go through the attendance. Commissioner Ed LaTurco, he is absent. Commissioner Bill Boyden.
Present.
Commissioner Sarah Walensky.
Here.
Commissioner Kent Moffett.
Here.
Commissioner Rob Sheehan.
Present.
Commissioner Indra Dev.
Here.
And for the record, the Chair, Larry Cohen, is present. Okay, the first item of business is public comment period. Is there anyone in the audience or online that would like to talk about something not on the agenda? The record should show no. Are we in a position to approve the minutes of June 13th?
We don't have them yet.
Right, then we can't.
We are not.
approve. We're not in that position. Okay.
I did see the thing you sent about approving minutes even if you weren't here.
Right, we
Quotes
had
from
a
Robert Rules of
discussion
Order,
a meeting ago. I just thought it was helpful.
So that made it very clear. You can approve them, you can even make the motion to approve them
Yeah.
if you weren't at that meeting.
Yeah.
All right, so this brings us all the way down to item number 4. Notice is given that the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting. Oh, before I do this, I completely missed one thing we have to do before I get to that. We have a new person with us. Miss Lucy Hanson has been appointed as the Assistant Conservation Administrator for the Conservation Department. She has a master's in geoscience and a bachelor's in geoscience. When I scanned your resume, I don't know a lot about some of these things, but you've done an awful lot of research. It just seems like you've done field excursions all over New England, environmental type stuff, and it seems like that you've investigated salt marshes and sediments at them, and New England salt marshes, and I even noticed, I don't know what this was about, that you were looking at data from corals in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Okay? And she, on top of all that and all this research and stuff that you've done, it appears that you have a wilderness first aid certification.
Yes.
Most important. So I'd like to introduce you and give you the opportunity to say anything you'd like about yourself, what your interest is, so the community can begin to get to know you.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
into the microphone.
Into the microphone.
All right.
Well, my name is Lucy. I just wrapped up a thesis on sediment dynamics in a New England salt marsh up in Maine. So I spent a good couple of years there looking very closely at one specific wetland. So I'm excited to kind of branch out and work more with inland wetlands and conservation approaches, attacks. That's not the right word. But looking towards protecting wetlands, I'm someone who really enjoys community-based stuff. I love community engagement, so this is a really wonderful marriage of my interests in the natural world and engaging with community. So I'm excited to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you, and I'm sure that echoes the sentiments of the commission. We welcome you here.
Welcome. Welcome.
The only thing I was going to ask you about, at some point, you don't have to do it now, but at some point I saw something here about using RFID, radio frequency identification, to study the transportation of gravel. I have no idea how that could possibly be. You don't know?
Larger cobbles, yeah. More like, so we would like drill holes in rocks
Yes.
and insert pit tags. Or I guess it's like saying PIN number. It's passive integrated transponder tags. And epoxy them in and then put them back in and log their locations with a GPS unit, and then
So you're tagging.
we tagged them,
You
yeah.
tag stuff. and
We
you
tagged
use it
rocks.
Using RFID to track
Yep.
where they go.
Yep.
Is that the idea?
Yep, we had like a mobile RFID unit, like kind of like a backpack situation, like a metal detector looking thing that you could use to find things.
That must have been fascinating.
It was really fascinating, really funny to like tromp around in a wetland or a river environment. And your waders with like a funny backpack and stick.
Sounds like a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And these tagged items actually move quite a distance?
They didn't move quite a distance.
No.
they
That
moved
was
a
one of
couple
the
of
findings?
centimeters.
Okay, okay.
It was more of a methods study. We
Yeah.
ended up using the same science in the Bahamas, and boulders did move as a result of hurricane wave action, which is super neat.
Yeah.
As far as the lack of movement, sounds like an anticlimactic result.
Yes, for that study, yes.
Okay, very good. Well, that really sounds like fascinating stuff, so it's great to have you. Thank you. All right, so now we'll get to item 4, and where it's a request for determination. We are, the announcement is we are holding a public meeting during which time a request for determination of applicability is filed by Artie Dash. The commission will take information related to the proposed installation of walking trails and bog bridges within the bordering vegetative wetlands and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands on the Fox Hill property, Fox Hill School property. Okay, and then after we hear that, we'll issue a determination. The application's being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14, and a copy of the application is available by writing to conservation@burlington.org. So Artie and anybody else who'd like to come up, and that's your chair right there. Does either microphone work?
I think they do, yep.
You can tap it and see if it works.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the way, Artie, the way this works is you get to talk first, but first you introduce yourself and, you know, where you live, your residence, and then you get to just use as many words as you'd like to describe what you're trying to do, okay, your project. And then we'll take it from there.
Okay.
So,
Okay, I'm Audie. I live in Burlington. I'm a rising senior at BHS, Burlington High School, and I'm currently doing an Eagle project for Boy Scouts, which is kind of like the culminating project, and after that I will receive my Eagle rank. So the basis of my project basically is in Fox Hill and like the land, the foresty area behind it. There are 2 sets of trails. There's the nature trails, and there are the sawmill conservation trails. And a lot of residents access those 2 sets of trails, but there's not really any way to go to either of the trails. If you're on one trail, there's not really an easy way to go to the other trail, unless you have to go through school grounds, which the school is concerned with as a risk to the students at the school. And so my proposed project would basically we cut and blazed a trail that connected the 2 series of trails. And so it's about, I think, 3 to 5 miles of just connected trails that residents can enjoy. And so we cut that and we blazed it with trail markers just so people know how to get through it. And then we also did trash cleanup. The area had a bunch of trash, even a couch, so we had to move that. And yeah, so now the next proposed phase of my project is to build bog bridges or muck bridges because the area tends to get muddy during the wet season. And so building those bridges to not only give people easier access to cross the trails, but also to protect the wetlands in that area because it prevents people from trampling on the ground that's already muddy and making it even more muddy, and also allowing for water flow because of the cleanup of trash and the design of the bridge, which allows for water to flow through. And so that is the next phase of my project, hopefully.
all right, so Eileen, what we have here is an application for the entire project. Part of it is retroactive because this young man was so eager to get out there and get some work done. He cut and blazed part of the trail, and now we're looking at the crossing of the wetlands.
That is basically, in a nutshell, so it takes a lot of work, a lot of planning to do an Eagle Scout project. So, you know, I give him a whole lot of credit for that. He did check in, he and Steve, his scout leader, checked in with John Keeley several months ago to see if we would be the
Beneficiary.
it is beneficiary, be the beneficiary of the project, but since it was on school grounds, John told him, no, we wouldn't be the beneficiaries, it would have to be school. I think somehow along the way that just got misinterpreted, that we don't need anything from you, whereas we actually did, because it's a crossing through buffer zone and in fact through wetlands, and
We're still permitting it, but we're not the beneficiary, whatever that means.
correct.
What do you think that means, beneficiary?
You are the one who is benefiting from the project, but you're also kind of like sponsoring the project. You are the host for the project. So it would since it's not our property, we're not the host. The school is the host. So we weren't waiving the Wetlands Protection Act. We were merely waiving being a beneficiary. So so the good and the bad thing for Addy is that we actually just recently had an ORAD approved for Fox Hill Schools. So we're actually very, very well aware of exactly where the wetlands are out there. So the good part is that we can see exactly where it went through the wetlands is, and the bad part is that it does actually cut through the wetlands at points. So we all went out, several of us went out there yesterday, and John Keeley actually accompanied me a couple of weeks ago to take a look at the trail as well. It's a really nicely cleared trail. He didn't take down any trees or saplings in order to do so, or move anything. So that's good. That's sort of perfect for our purposes. And he's blazed it nicely. He's connected to the nature trail that was already there, and he's connected up to the existing trail that's sort of in Wilmington, and that also connects into the sawmill trails, as he described. It was a very good explanation, Addy. He is here in front of us because the trail goes through both wetlands and buffer zone, and he is proposing that in the parts that are wetter, because they're actually wetland, he is proposing to add some bog bridges, which will be a good thing in that if a trail is there, which it is now, and there may have been a social trail anyway, these will protect the wetlands from trampling and potentially from bikes as well, which can do quite a lot of damage.
Sure.
So just before you guys start talking, these are a couple of examples of the spans that he's talking about where it's pretty wet, and he's talking about putting either an 8-foot bog bridge or, sorry, maybe there was a longer one back there, 16 feet, 8 again, 20. I'm just scrolling through so I can show you what his actual bridge looks like. It looks like one of these. It's an 8-foot stretch, and it would be on blocks, which is something you've seen some of the other scouts do. It just gets affixed with wire fasteners, and he is proposing possibly with Bill's help, using some stepping stones in one or two of the wetter places, which would also be, I think, fine.
Okay, so now we'll go around to the commission and see if there's any further questions. Rob, you have.
So it's not in, it doesn't go into sawmill area?
It does not go into sawmill. All of this here that you see is actually the school property, and sorry, I'm just moving my own things here. This bit here where it just curls up, that's gone into Wilmington there. So there are more trails in here too.
But those trails do connect to Sawmill.
Yes,
Yes.
they do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really great project, especially like doing the cleanup and picking up the trash and cleaning up the area. I think that's really terrific. I think, yeah, I think that, I know there's a couple, familiar with a couple of the bog bridges in, I think there's a really small one in the Pine Glen Conservation Area, and then I think in Mary Cummings, I think, there's a couple of them as well.
You may not have, Larry, do you mind if I just
Go ahead.
chip?
Go ahead.
You may not have been here a year or two ago when we did another Scouts Aiden actually did some bog bridges in the sawmill.
Yes, the
in
sawmill.
In the sawmill area. So if you go in there, you'll see something like what his are going to look like. I mean, they look pretty similar, same idea. They may
Yeah.
not be exactly the same, but same idea.
Yeah, but I think it's really great to do that.
Oh, this is some of the trash he picked up, so I appreciate that very much, taking that rubbish out. And that was only a fraction of it. He and his mom said that's like a third of the trash,
Here's the picture of all the trash he collected.
right?
Quite a bit of stuff.
Right. So that's a benefit.
Okay, Sarah.
I don't really have any concerns based on what I saw yesterday. I thought it looked like it improves the usability of that area. And there's probably people walking through there anyway without any bog bridges, biking, and this will be, protect the resources that are there. I think it'll be an overall net positive for sure.
Thank you.
All right, Kent?
Yeah, I'll just echo Rob and Sarah's points. I mean, this is just on like the bridges themselves, like carving that all out, or like the bridges and that, and then also like the trash removal on top of that. And I noted in the thing, it did note that it'll help with like runoff and help be able to access, people get in there to make further cleanups. I think that's great. I mean, well done. That's, again,
Thank you.
All right, Indra?
Very good job. Keep it up, okay? And they all said that you're doing a very good job and continue doing this.
Thank you.
All right, and Bill?
It serves a definite function of need in that I've had community members address the concerns with me that they like to walk their dogs and go from Fox Hill Road over to Sawmill during school hours. And they've actually been challenged by school staff saying, what are you doing on the grounds while the kids are out in the playgrounds, et cetera. And they're kind of saying, it's my conservation area, I should be able to go there, et cetera. So this provides a pathway that will skirt around the whole school to get there. My concern, and I've expressed this already with Artie, is that I want to make sure that the plan that he's already started to implement, and he's going to do more work on it, is compatible with the construction of the new school, and to make sure, because they do come very close to those wetlands in their project construction, the different phases of construction, destruction, et cetera. So I have written to Donna Danisco, who's the, I guess, director, I don't know her title, but director of Danisco Engineering and Design, and they're the architects and planners of the school. And I've connected Adi with Donna so that he can talk directly to her with his plans and make certain that they're going to be compatible with what's going on. Because it would be a shame if all of a sudden they come in with a bulldozer and, half your work is gone or something like that. So I thought that was an important thing to do. Adi has communicated with the school department about it, but they're not really the engineers for the project. So I thought it'd be best if we had a direct connection with the engineers.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Artie, a couple of observations. When I was out there yesterday, it struck me that this is a large project. This is actually larger than we typically see it with scout projects. This covers a number of bog bridges and quite a length. How long do you anticipate this taking? And have you given any thought, you think it matters the time of year you do this? Is it best to do it in the summer, theoretically, when it's the driest? Or just wondering if you thought about any of those logistics, because I suspect sometimes it's going to be a lot wetter.
Right. So to kind of, I guess, confront that problem, we made sure to go during the wettest times of year. So we went at the beginning of April, which is kind of the wet season, and we made sure to take pictures of segments of land where we had kind of landmarks, like rocks that looked pretty unique, or things like that, where we could recognize that portion of land. We also went recently, right after it rained, just to make sure we didn't miss any spots. We did see that we needed one additional 8-foot muck bridge at the end of the trail. And so we kind of solved that problem by going when it was the wettest, rather than having to build it in the driest and not really being able to tell where we needed a muck bridge. So, and to answer your question about how long the project, I know the bridges, I'm making sure to do an extensive amount of preparation to make sure that all the bridge building goes smoothly, and I know kind of how to build the bridges and the procedure that you have to go through to build them. So I expect the bridge portion of the project to be done by the end of this month.
Really?
Yeah.
All
I think
those,
he means July.
That's so all,
Or, yeah, sorry, July, right. It's not,
so even the 16, there was one that was 2 8-foot sections in a row, the 16-foot, and then there was some 8-foot sections.
right. So, yeah, I'm just kind of, I'm doing my own kind of prototype at home where I'm just getting some of the resources we need and kind of timing out how long it takes me to do each segment of the bridge building. So like how long it takes to transport materials to the spot, how long it takes to drill the pilot holes for the screws, stuff like that, to see really how long it'll take and kind of estimate based on that how long all the bridge segments will take to build. And because I will be getting volunteers from my troop, should be around 5 to 10 each day that I'm working on it, it'll just expedite that process more.
And there are places where it's affixed by strapping to the cement blocks, right?
Yes,
And there's places where you're connecting wood to wood, right?
right.
And what are you using, screw, some type of screw to?
Yeah, we're using wood screws to,
Are you using anything that won't rust at all, or is that necessary, or?
I'm not really sure. I know that the screws would rust over time, but that would probably take a while, especially because all of like the kind of canopies protect from the rain a little bit when it does rain, so.
Yeah. I wonder if they have galvanized screws or not, whether you can buy something.
I'm pretty sure the screws we did buy were galvanized steel,
Yeah,
so.
so that would make it last for a while.
A decking screw or something?
Decking screws, yeah, they're all
Can I-
designed for that application.
Ask a question?
Yes.
So the bridge is, one is 8 feet span, the other one is 16 feet span?
Right, so we're gonna build the bridges in 8-foot segments, and then kind of, if we have bridges that are 16 feet or 24 feet, just connecting 3 segments of 8-foot bridges to make those longer bridges.
Now, did you test or how do you know that 16 feet span with that member you are using, the wood,
Yeah, so,
good or not good?
right, so that's part of the process I'm doing, like kind of preparing. So we, at home, tested kind of having those 8-foot planks with 2 footers of cinder blocks, and we saw that it bent a little in the middle, and so we changed our design to have another footer every 4 feet. So that made it so that it didn't bend, and so it was pretty stable. So it should, yeah.
Thank you.
Indra, I think we have a structural engineer in the making here.
I have one question also. Do you have a time frame that you must get it accomplished to meet the Eagle Scout requirements or something?
It's before I turn 18, which is in December, so I have a bit of time, but
That time in hand.
yeah, I would like to get it done by the end of the summer, just because I have college apps and stuff coming up for senior year, so, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Can I make one more interjection? And then it looks like Steve has his hand up.
Yes.
I may have misheard you. Did you say that you're thinking about doing the work while it's wet? I hope I misheard you, because you should be doing it when it's dry, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I just went through I did like a site survey when it was
Evaluate
wet.
It's wet.
Right.
That's fine.
But I'll be doing it in like July, and it's hot weather, so it'll most likely be dry.
All right, Steve, you have your hand up.
Yeah, hi, thanks for letting me speak up. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I know earlier it was a little choppy. So just to address a couple of issues, so yes, Audi, the deck screws, we wanted to verify with the Conservation Committee whether or not it was okay to use galvanized material there, because I know I saw in the write-up for the board, we need to be careful about pressure-treated wood not having any scraps left behind. So we'll do Audi's project, as is Eagle Mentor. I've been coaching them all along this process. Yes, we're going to hopefully have all of the materials delivered on site there in the parking lot of Fox Hill School, and then just do the final assembly there on site and make sure that there are no scraps left behind. I want to make sure you guys were clear on that. But I wasn't sure whether or not we could use galvanized. I was very concerned about that, because I didn't want us to impose any damage chemically to the wetland area there. So, but it was good to hear you suggest that.
Galvanized screws are the least of our worries.
That's true, because you're going to use pressure-treated wood, right?
Yes.
I would expect that if it's okay for that, then the galvanized screws are probably fine.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure that that was okay before Audi, because I'm actually taking my son to move into Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. We're in Indianapolis right now, so, and I'm not going to be there while I want to make sure that Audi's clear on the materials before, assuming that the board approves this.
Right.
That his list of materials is good to go forward. And then the other concern about the building, the new school building effort that's going underway. We had talked with Mr. Kuna about this, and he was concerned about that too, but I reminded him, and I'll remind you all, that the purpose of the Eagle Project, number one, is to give the candidate leadership opportunities. And the our troop committee, as well as the Scout Council for the Spirit of Adventure Council, all agreed that, and as you said, this is a very large project. There's plenty of leadership opportunities for Audi on this, and we've already witnessed, I've already observed a number of them already. So that's the number one priority of all Eagle projects. A permanent structure is secondary, you know, that, or a lasting structure, like the other muck bridges and walkways that we put throughout the Sawmill Trail. It's great that they're there and they're standing the test of time, but that's if the construction disrupts the path or those muck bridges at all due to whatever's going on. As I mentioned to Mr. Kuna, that's okay, because that makes room for another Eagle project downstream to reroute the trails around after the construction's done. So I'm not concerned about that. Now, you all might be more concerned about that, but myself and the troop committee and council aren't concerned about that, as long as he can build it and it's up there for the community at large to use for public use. It's satisfied the top two check mark for an Eagle project. So, and I'll go ahead and mute now after that.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. All right, is there anyone else who would like to make a comment on this? All right, so what we have is a draft of a negative conditional determination. Essentially, it means that if approved, it means the commission feels that with a few precautions, that we do not see any major detriment to the wetlands involved. So that's what we're looking at approving, and Eileen will do the review.
I will. Sorry, I missed one last click. Okay, so there is a thing we need to check to edit here. This is an Eagle Scout project by Scout Adi Dash. The applicant proposed to create a new trail. Let me make it bigger. New trail close to the northern property line of the school, connecting an existing nature trail with an existing trail that runs into Wilmington, and to install, it's actually going to be 8 elevated boardwalks now, with your approval, over muddy patches on the new trail. 2 short stretches of the trail would run through bordering vegetated wetlands, and longer stretches through buffer zone on the Fox Hill School property. The proposed work is located within bordering vegetated wetland and buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. The wetlands were flagged for an order of resource area delineation on the school property. This filing was retroactive as the new trail was created and blazed before the scout and leader realized a wetland permit was required. The application was submitted before work on the bridges spanning the wetter areas was initiated. So this is telling Adi that only the work that we've talked about tonight and as approved in this determination is allowed, and if you are considering changing something, you will have to come back to the commission, or at least to staff. The applicant shall notify the Conservation Commission, Conservation Department, at least 2 days prior to the commencement of work on the bog bridges. The applicant shall communicate with the design team for the new school construction project to ascertain if the trail is sufficiently far from the construction zone. Does that suit your needs, Bill?
Yeah,
Is that
exactly.
wording, I mean?
And I understand the advisor's comment that,
Yeah.
you know, the whole purpose is to show your leadership and your skills and
Right.
meet the requirements of the Eagle project. But if it can last longer than the start of construction, that would be ideal. So,
Especially since this is a wetland, we don't want it disturbed twice.
exactly.
No tree removals are permitted under this determination. There should be no cutting of pressure-treated lumber within the wetlands. All wood scrap shall be removed and disposed of properly. The Commission reserves the right to require, I'm just going to say erosion controls. I'm sorry, it says additional, because we're not really requiring anything for this since it's relatively small scale work. In the event they or the Commission administrator deem them necessary, and this says that we, more likely staff, have the right to just check on the proceedings at the time while you're working.
Okay, so Artie, you have any questions at all?
I have the draft open. I think that's all I had, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are compared to some of the things we issue, this is very minimal, because it's not much is needed.
Great.
Okay. So, hearing nothing further, could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the project on the Fox Hill School property for a new trail and boardwalk under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 in the State Wetlands Protection Act? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? 600, that's unanimous. So I will tell you that not only is this a large project, and I think it's very much needed because it connects an area of a nature trail that didn't have a connection to the other trails. I see elements of organization, I see elements of planning, elements of design, and elements of execution. I think it is a wonderful project for you to be doing. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Have a great night.
Good job.
Thank you, good job.
All right, so next is item 5, which is going to be passed over and delayed. We have a request for a certificate of compliance for 25 Network Drive, the Nordblum Company, for a stormwater permit. And this permit, I guess, Eileen, I guess you tell me it wasn't quite ready, will be on for the next meeting?
It wasn't quite ready. They're still in the tidying up phase. There's a lot of planting to be done, and that's still underway, and grass is yet to be, not all the seeding is done. So let's give them 2 or 3 more weeks, and it'll be a lot closer to being,
All right, and so we don't need any motion because it's
we don't, because it's not here.
it's not a hearing. All right, so we'll move down to item number 6, which is a continued public hearing, notice of intent, 10 McCarthy Drive, for Christopher Tedesco to construct a shed. It's DEP file number 122-707. Come on up. And you can come up too if you'd like. That's okay.
Come on, be my counsel, my lovely daughter, thank you. No other children were willing to attend, despite the educational opportunity, so I apologize.
It's really to offer you support because you were probably a little bit nervous too.
Yeah, she's pretty tough, she backed me up, so.
Okay, so would you like to say anything further at all about your project?
Nothing new to add, appreciate the time last week, I think it was very positive experience, so looking forward to next steps.
All right, Eileen, is there anything further we need under this application?
No, there isn't. I admit I'm not delighted to see a shed going in here, a very large shed, but I know that Chris has done his best to, he's very, very constrained by what he can put in there and where he can fit it. So because of the setbacks and because of the gas easement, there's really only one place a large shed can go, and that means it's going to be 22 feet from the stream. So if you're okay with putting a shed in there, that is the only place it can go.
Are any waivers needed?
Yes, you will need a no-build waiver.
A no-build?
The 40-foot no-build waiver. No-build waiver? Or that.
I think we know what you mean.
Thank you. Do you want me to share the plan while you just chat, or do you?
Well, I'll go over, yeah, if you want to put up the plan, I'll
Yeah.
just ask everybody if they have any issues. All right, so this is a shed. You have so many feet from the stream and wetlands along the stream. You have a gas line easement, and you have zoning setbacks. And so it looks like the rectangle is pretty well defined where your shed can go.
It is. It's years of thought, minimal options, and frankly, quite an expensive undertaking just to get to build, never mind to actually build. So
Right.
it's been a bit of a challenge, but it will be what I consider to be one and done.
Okay, anything further, Eileen? on it?
No, not for me.
All right. Rob, anything further in this one? Sarah?
No.
Kent?
Nope.
Indra? Nope. Bill?
No, nothing further.
And I'm a no as well. I'm I'm good. So if this is a hearing, is there anyone else online? I don't see anyone in the audience here. Is there anyone else online that would like to make a comment for 10 McCarthy Drive, the proposed shed application?
There's nobody else online.
Well,
It's just us.
all right, the
This
record
guy's-
should show there was no further comment.
Okay.
All right, so we have draft documents. Have you seen them?
I have.
You have. Okay, so we'll review them and then either discuss or just plain vote. So,
He even caught an edit, even before Bill.
Wow.
I know, that's
He's
impressive.
hired.
That's right.
Very minor, just.
Luckily for Lucy, Lucy had already caught it. So, okay, so a notice of intent bylaw application was filed for construction of a large shed, 16 by 35.7 feet, within the riverfront area of a stream regulated under the Burlington Wetlands bylaw and within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands and bank. The project also included a 1-foot wide stone trench on the two longer sides to manage stormwater for the shed roof and planting of 4 native shrubs. This goes through the filing history. The document that we're referencing is the survey sketch, which was signed and stamped by a PLS. The wetland values are that this proposed shed is proposed to be 21.7 feet from the stream and BVW, as shown in the approved plan. The commission is going to vote to waive the 40-foot no-build setback. The commission finds that the bank and bordering vegetated wetland delineation is accurate. The project is exempt from the Massachusetts Stormwater Management Regulations as it's an accessory project for a single-family home. You will implement erosion and sedimentation controls. The bylaw regulations require improvement to the riverfront area when developing in the riverfront. The applicant enhanced the riverfront area a little bit, but it's only a shed, by planting 4 native shrubs in the inner riverfront. And the commission is also going to waive the requirement for a more robust alternatives analysis since the stream is jurisdictional only under the bylaw. There's no other feasible location for the shed that could be further from the stream, given the requirements to avoid the existing gas easement and property setback lines, if you're comfortable with that. And this will serve the permit under the sedimentation and erosion control. Sorry, I didn't fix that. That's stormwater bylaw. We changed that ages ago, and we haven't fixed it everywhere. Stormwater bylaw. Okay. Then we are proposing in this case well, 2 things. One, that he uses hay bales bound with ropes, since this is very, very, very close to the stream, and a $2,000 bond, but I'm open to a change on that one if you think that's too high. And then the other order is, where's the order? Here we go. Then the order references the same plan that we mentioned earlier. And all of these first few conditions are completely standard. We see them on every single order, and you've had a little look at them today. We are saying that this is permitting work within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands and within the 200-foot riverfront area bylaw jurisdiction only. No work within any other wetland resource areas has been permitted by this decision. Sort of standard. Then the construction conditions describe how you need to install those erosion controls, which should be hay bales or possibly thick compost tubes with my approval, close to the stream on the shed side of the stream and across the head wall. Those should be up by the time you call us out to an inspection to see that they're in place, the DEP sign is in place, and everything else that we require is in place. That goes through most of the erosion control conditions as well. Materials shall not be stockpiled on the site within 50 feet of the wetlands or stream, nor at a location that would allow materials to run into the streets. The stockpile should be at least 20 feet from the street. And if you get dirt on the street, just sweep it at the end of the day. Work involving filling and grading, it just says that no additional grading is allowed if it's not shown on the plan, unless you come back to us. Anything that falls into the wetlands or into the stream shall be removed by hand immediately. If there's a spill or anything else, you need to inform us. No pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides shall be used within 100 feet of the wetlands or stream unless we have approved a slow-release phosphorus-free fertilizer. And that condition shall be noted on the certificate of compliance as existing in perpetuity. 4 native shrubs shall be planted on site as riverfront area improvement. The species and locations shall be determined in consultation with staff. We know really where the location is. No machinery shall be used in the wetland or close to the stream bank. That seems like it was just jammed in there. The shrubs shall be monitored for 2 full growing seasons, and those that fail to survive within that time shall be replaced. We won't return the surety until we're happy that the whole situation is stabilized. And the Conservation Department shall not sign for approval of, wasn't going to take this out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is a version that I thought I took it out already. I must have taken it out in a different version that didn't go in here. This is irrelevant because he won't need a CO. He won't need a certificate of occupancy for a shed, I hope. So we're just saying that the certificate of compliance.
I hope not.
Well, maybe. Will be.
Definitely some issues if,
The
We covered that last meeting.
The certificate of compliance has these requirements that you have to meet before we issue the certificate of compliance.
It is a big shed.
It is a big shed.
all right, is anyone on the left have comments on the permit, proposed permit? Anyone on the right? Anything further? I'm good. Okay. In that case, you all set with this? No questions? You can always ask questions after the fact anyway.
No, I read through the document. I think it's straightforward.
Right.
Yep.
All right, could I have a motion to close the hearing on DEP file number 122-707?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Okay, that's 6-0-0. Okay. Could I have a motion to waive the requirement to observe the no building zone, the 20 to 40 feet under Burlington bylaw Article 14, for reasons that there is no other possible location because of the amount of setbacks required between the easement, the zoning setbacks, as well as the stream. It's the furthest that it can possibly be. Is there a motion to waive the 40-foot no building zone requirement? Second? All in favor?
Abstain.
5-0-1. Okay, it carries. Could I have a motion to waive the requirement for an alternatives analysis or a more robust alternatives analysis, since the stream is only jurisdictional under our, for our riverfront area, under our bylaw, as well as, there's no other feasible location for the shed that would be further from the stream. So it makes no sense to do an alternative analysis if there is no alternative, I guess. All right, is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 6-0, 5-0-1. Okay? Could I have a motion to approve the findings under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 for the project at 10 McCarthy Drive, DEP file number 122-707? Second?
Second.
All in favor? 5-0-1. Could I have a motion to approve the draft permit under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and the State Wetlands Protection Act for DEP file number 122-707 for the project at 10 McCarthy Drive?
So moved. Kent.
Second? All in favor? 5-0-1. Okay, so we have a bond. Could I have a motion for the bond? There's a performance surety that is normally adopted, requested under Burlington Bylaw Article 14, and the one that is put down here for discussion or argument's sake is $2,000. If people think that's appropriate, you can make that motion. If you think it should be a bit less, you can also make the same motion.
I make a motion that the bond be $1,000. This is a prefabricated shed, basically going to be dropped in place.
It will be built in place.
It's going to be built in place.
It will.
Okay, but it's already a kit, basically, that's going to be put together, right?
No, it'll be custom.
It's going to be custom?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, then, there goes my
Not trying to
rationale.
talk you
Would
out
you
of
like
it.
to give a different rationale?
Well, it is a small project, and there's going to be, substantial erosion protection. We've had this amount for a full house sometimes, so I think this is $1,000 would be sufficient for a project of this size.
Yeah, I also think for the shed, $2,000 is probably high.
All right, could I have a motion to adopt a requirement for a post of $1,000 performance surety under Burlington bylaw, Article 14, for DEP file number 122-707 in the amount of $1,000 under Burlington bylaw, Article 14?
So moved.
Second. Further discussion? Motion for 1,000. All in favor? 5-0.
I think I can vote for this, right?
I would welcome your vote. 6-0. Okay, so obviously, if you have questions, even though it's after the fact, you contact the office, and they're very good at resolving issues.
Yeah, everybody's been great so far, so thank you.
All right. Good luck. Could I ask you a question?
Sure?
This is large enough to almost function as an accessory dwelling unit? Like
Yeah,
one of-
no chance.
Could it be converted to that if it could get permitted?
There's no
No.
plumbing.
There's no plumbing.
No plumbing, no electrical.
Oh,
Oh, no electrical either, yeah.
Yeah.
all right. So if you move into there, it's going to be
It's going to be a little chilly.
it's going to be a little chilly.
Chili on the floor.
Well, it's sort of like those shows I see about the people roughing it up in Alaska.
It could be. No, I mean, the rationale here behind the scale of the building is, if you look at the investment I've had to make to get to this point, it's, probably already double what most people would spend on a shed.
Right.
Because of the wetland scientist costs, the permit costs, and beyond. So it's a difficult property to do anything on, but it's also a great place to live, so it's worth it. But like I said earlier, the idea is, build a nice structure, be one and done. It will be there for the foreseeable future, probably longer than I will be, unfortunately. So,
Well, I wish you the best of luck with this project.
yeah, we appreciate all the support. It's been a great experience, and Eileen's been very helpful, and John as well when he was here. So looking forward to continue to play by the rules and get things done the right
All
way.
right, well, we get a chance to inspect it at the end. We get to see the finished project, so that.
Yeah, hopefully it goes easy from here, but the fun's just about to begin.
Very good. All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck.
All right, so next next on the list is planning board comments. Do we have any comments that we need for the planning board?
I don't think we do.
All right, subcommittee and staff reports.
Well, just, I don't know if it counts as staff reports, but we did have the hazardous mitigation plan update meeting yesterday, and three of the members here were there, and it was actually quite fruitful. It was a good discussion, even with so few people at it. We actually had some good feedback. So thanks very much for that. They'll put their plan together, and we'll get everybody back together to kind of talk about a rough draft and get some more feedback then. So thank you.
So are they going to be generating proposed projects that will help mitigate, prepare?
Nuts.
I mean, what is the what is the product that you're going to come out with?
Well, it's a plan. We actually have one at the moment. It's on our website, and I'd be happy to send you the current one if you like.
Sure.
Maybe that's a good idea. So it's going to be an update to that, and then it's based on what MEMA's current requirements are for updated plans. But we need to look at each of the major hazards that are considered to be viable here. I mean, anything could happen, and just see what we have in place and whether structures are built to withstand winds and tornadoes and things like that, and whether we have cooling centers, and whether, we have thought about this and are trying to make the town resilient. So it may not be specific projects like build this thing, but it will give us a kind of a roadmap so that we can then maybe look for funding to say, oh, let's build this thing that will work for what we identified in the hazard mitigation plan. Does that make sense?
Well, it does make sense, except let's see, who was there? Bill, you were there? Rob, were you?
Rob was there.
You were there. The thing is, I spoke about a shared concern that when the rainfall gets worse, the areas that flood will not only flood, but it's going to expand.
Right.
All right? And when I think about that, I think about the areas along Sandy Brook and Long Meadow Brook.
Yeah.
And I think potentially in a large rainfall where we're past the 9 inches in 24 hours and we're up around 10 and a half or 11 inches in 24 hours in the not too distant future, we have the makings of kind of a disaster for many people, I think. And I often wonder to myself, does the town understand that? Do they understand that we are potentially looking at major flooding issues?
I'm going to say yes and no. This is part of what we are addressing here. It's one of those plans that, as we discussed last night, it's sort of easy to get put up on a shelf and not address. But I think we have to be much better about doing so in the future. We are aware, we actually did mention Sandy Brook in the last plan around. We just, it's a tricky one. One option could be that we actually purchase some of the properties down there as actual flood storage areas, but that's a costly option. So that will take a plan and it'll take some money to do that.
Is there opportunities to use land that is not built upon to build a constructed wetland to kind of hold some of this water?
I know you were suggesting that. We would have to look at that. This is a very built-out town, so there isn't a whole lot of areas that aren't built on, except areas that are already sort of protected open space.
I just
So
don't know if
we-
we're, I don't
we
know,
can look at that
I just
more.
don't know if a hard look has been looked at that.
We just approved an RDA for a property right next to Sandy Brook, like, 12 feet away from the actual bank. I found myself thinking, this just looks like I can just imagine in 5-10 years when there's another 500-year flood.
Which project now was that? Just remind
This
me.
was somebody who was building a big addition on his home right next to Sandy Brook. Just, it seemed like it
Well,
was,
even more to the point, in Partridge Lane, there's a pumping station there, and I
Yeah.
assume that's kind of critical to our infrastructure. Wouldn't be there, and it's right on the Fine Brook Aquifer. I mean, it's like right there.
Yeah, I went there last year because remember they were doing some work there?
Right.
It was underwater basically at the time.
Right.
Yeah. So I think stay tuned and we collectively can be involved in getting something done, Larry, okay?
Let's keep
I'm on
that.
board.
Anybody want to make a comment on this?
No, I just think the whole point is to be aware of what the risks are and be prepared. So, and stay in communication. That was one of the items that was brought up yesterday was, these supposed to be some regular meetings with department heads to keep, updated and current on their assessments of the hazards, and it hasn't been done. So those are the things that can be corrected.
Right. I mean, it was also pointed out, and it's true, there was actually pretty big turnover in department heads of the people who were actually at that last, who were heavily involved in the last planning. So that was a little bit unfortunate. Which is this, I'm trying to think what the Sandy Brook Road is that you were talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it is.
No, I believe you. I just, that's fine. But, yeah, I mean, in some ways, though, you do have to strike a balance between what makes sense and allowing people to actually live their lives and use their properties, a little bit.
Okay, next, anything else? We're on other business. I have other business. Anyone else before I go on it? All right, the other night, I forget which night it was, I went to the library. There was a very interesting presentation there. Was anyone else there on the Mystic Trail Alliance, Mystic River Trail Alliance?
I wanted to go to that. I was out of town. I'm so glad you're going to talk about it.
All right, so Janice and I went, and the people that were there were representatives of the people who worked on what is called the Bay Circuit Trail. So I made a little handout for you. Okay? All right, so here's more, and here's more. Yeah. Okay, whatever you need.
Thank you.
Okay, on the first page, if you're not aware, there is pretty much, there are some open areas, something called the Bay Circuit Trail. It is something that was envisioned back in actually the late 20s, and it's been under development ever since then. It's a 230-mile-long trail outside of Boston where you can walk, hike, ski, do various things. It is a trail that starts up around, let's see here, Newburyport, and goes all the way around, sort of following Route 128, inside 128, and goes all the way through Concord, past Walpole, all the way down as far as Duxbury. And most of the connections have been done. It is a trail that is administered by the Appalachian Mountain Club. And the people that were at the library were the people who worked on the development of the trail over many, many years. One of them was a fellow named Alan French. There was a fellow named, I don't know, I don't have the names. But they...
I totally forgot to send around things to, I'm sorry, I'm still new, remember? Sorry about that.
What are we doing?
Okay, signatures.
All the signatures.
All right, so let me continue with this.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, no, and it passes through, the Bay Circuit Trail passes through 230 miles, passes through 38 towns. A lot of it is all finished. You can pretty much walk as a project, not all in one day, the 230 miles, but you could make it a project to hike the Bay Circuit Trail, okay, all the way around. Now, they are now looking, Mystic Link Trail Alliance is looking at spurs that go in various directions that connect various places on the Bay Circuit Trail. So there is something called the Mystic Link Trail, and it starts in Andover and goes all the way. The whole idea is for it to go all the way essentially to Boston. And it goes from Andover through North Reading, Wakefield, Stoneham, a little bit, touches Woburn, and goes into Medford, Somerville, Cambridge, and therefore Boston. And they are particularly interested in, there are various places where this is in place. It uses a combination of conservation areas and other open spaces and official trail areas to link up and call this a trail, the Mystic Link Trail. And they are aware, these people that are doing this and promoting this, that Burlington is one of the headwaters for the Mystic River. We have a lot of small streams. There's not a lot, okay, but we have, a small portion of the southern portion of Burlington does have small streams that eventually do make up the Mystic River. And they are particularly interested in two particular properties. One is the Mill Pond and the Mill Pond Conservation Area, and the other is Mary Cummings Park. And they are looking for ways to actually connect those two properties and then link up to the Mystic Link Trail. They would probably respond favorably to an invitation to give us a brief presentation, but mostly for the purposes of making the people of Burlington aware that these things exist and what these people are trying to do. So, that's all I really have. I mean, the Mystic Link Trail is a bunch of connected open spaces, some conservation areas, some town properties between Merrimack Valley and Boston Harbor. And as I said, there are a lot of open areas where it's not totally connected yet, but you can go from place to place. There are some places where it's like a sidewalk, so to speak. But then, of course, the Tri-City Bikeway that goes from Stoneham down to Winchester, that uses some of the curbs and things like that. I've been on that as well. And with enough signage, you actually can sometimes not get lost. So would anybody like to comment? I'm particularly interested if you would like for us to invite them for a meeting or make a brief presentation so our community at large, the Burlington residents, could hear what all this is about.
I would love that, and I would really like to see what proposed route they have through Burlington, because I would love to know.
I am not sure that they have a proposed route. When I was there, I talked to them about a couple of things. I talked to them, I was thinking about I told them that, Mill Pond Conservation Area, they weren't aware that there's 140 acres that connects Mill Pond. They weren't too aware of that, I don't think. They weren't aware that just on the southern border of Burlington, there is a paved trail. I think it's called the Lower Vine Brook Trail.
Yes.
Now it starts in Lexington. It's right, steps over the line from Burlington. And if you follow it along, you can go all the way and connect with the Minuteman Bikeway. They weren't aware of that either.
Really?
Yeah,
We should talk to them.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're into the Mystic River, the Mystic River thing, and, but they're interested in these various spurs. I'm not sure, I think they would be interested in learning about the open spaces in Burlington and what the possibilities are. I mean, when I'm thinking of things connected spaces, there's over by Blue Sky Drive, used to be called Network Drive, used to be called Sun Microsystems Drive or whatever the big case is. There is a trail near where that new biolab is going in that goes off of North Street. You go down in there and you can go left and right sort of along Route 3. One end ends all the way up at Route 62 near the Billerica line. The other end, of course, ends down near Nordblum Company and comes out there. But they weren't aware of that either. So they seem to be interested in my offer and others to show them some of these areas. They can have a more complete inventory on an idea of what may be possible and how things could be connected. I thought it was a lovely idea.
Let's invite them.
All right, Rob, any questions on this? Comments?
That sounds great. I mean, it's sort of, like someone that just don't know that some of these things are somewhat connected. So yeah, it's good to sort of see like what's proposed, what's existing.
Could we leverage power line roads? Because I know these seem to have this funny in-between state. There's signs that say no motorized vehicles, which to me, little brown signs, which implies, what about other vehicles, like people walking?
You're
or
talking
bikes?
about under power lines.
Under power lines, because that's about the only right-of-way
The funny
left in Burlington.
The funny thing is about power lines, if you ask for formal permission to
get
create
no.
a trail, you get no. If you just, maybe there's liability if they say yes.
I'm guessing it's, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
CYA
But if you
stuff.
just use it, it's almost like they're okay, is what I heard. Like, if you want to hike under the power lines, go ahead, but they're not sanctioning, they're not saying it's okay. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true. So, Kent?
No, I think it looks really interesting. I'd be for them coming in and presenting if they were willing to do that.
I think the residents of Burlington would find it rather fascinating.
Yep.
That's my opinion. Indra?
I would love to see what they can do from Burlington, how they are going to connect the train from the Burlington.
I think they, I get the impression they're more talking about, they're asking what are the possibilities to connect those two big properties, Mill Pond and Barry Cummings. Bill?
Well, they're trying to educate themselves as well as,
Right.
promote the concept, so I think it's a good idea. I didn't even know these trails existed, so, because I'm not much of a trail walker, but I'm surprised that these exist as formality and as extensive as they are.
Right. All right. So Lucy or Eileen, comments?
Are you thinking of having them into a Conservation Commission meeting, or are you talking about maybe having some kind of either other informal evening like they had in the library, or just maybe even meeting them to say, hey, let's chat about the trails that we have here? What do you think?
I haven't got that far in the thinking.
Okay, so right now you just want general feedback as to whether we're interested in at least.
Yeah, I don't know what the best way is. I think eventually, I'd like to see them in front of the commission where we have things, on cable and things like that, so people, we can spread the news, people are more aware of it. But,
I don't know how many people, to be frank, watch the Conservation Commission meeting, but you could get something developed with them on another basis, like Eileen suggested, on a side meeting and stuff like that, and once you get something together, maybe put it on BCAT, have a separate broadcast or discussing this particular item.
we can do that.
Do you want to just, sorry, what's the word? Like connect with that guy and suggest that he, connects with staff, and then we can talk
Set
about.
up a meeting, maybe?
Set up a meeting or something informal, or maybe we can meet them at Mill Pond or something and show them the trails.
I think they're familiar with Mill Pond somewhat.
And have they spoken to the trustees?
Well, I'm not sure, but Steve, what's his name, friend of Mary Cummings Park?
Yeah.
He was in the meeting.
Okay,
So I'm sure he's
Well, yeah.
probably more on, Steve,
yeah.
I forget his name.
Well, that's still the trustees are the ones that actually manage it, so.
They manage it, right? Right.
There's a big obstacle to connecting those two pieces of land. That would be 95.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that with the whole bike trail thing that Melissa was working on. So I'm seeing connections to that whole bike trail possibility that we were talking about too, remember?
Pinebrook
Yes.
Riverwalk, it all.
The Riverwalk, yeah.
But, I think one of the things we can keep in mind, that if the Riverwalk concept ever comes to reality, it connects a lot of areas of the town. And it's not all going to be in the middle of a forest, unfortunately. We're a built-up town.
Well, feel free to have a chat to him and introduce him, just, connect him with staff, and we can go from there if you like. Or you can do that.
I think,
That's fine with me.
I think it would be, I think your suggestion, Eileen, would be good if we had a pre-talk to see what the possibilities are. Otherwise, we're talking from, we just don't know.
Right,
Right.
okay.
To have more
Yep.
of a plan.
Let's maybe see if they want to meet in some fashion.
All right, so I will take that as an action item to
All right.
refer them to you and Lucy. How's that?
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
All right, is there anything else? The next meeting is July 11, 2024, and we have one meeting in July, and we have one meeting in August, August 8th, 2024. Is there any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting of the commission.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Do need to sign that.
600. All right, we have